Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Sunday. My name's Caleb. Welcome to Paperboy. So today's topic is what were some unexpected changes when I started transitioning. Um, I think for me, I started social transition first. Obviously, I came out, and the very first thing I did was change my name and gender marker on my ID. And I had mixed reactions from friends at the time. I was living in Virginia. Um, I didn't know what to expect. I just knew that my life had reached like a critical mass point, I guess I could say, where I knew that I needed to figure out what this gender thing that had been nagging me my whole life was about. So when I made the decision to, I just say the term, become authentic, become myself. I'm understanding more and more that I've always been male. I've always seen myself that way. It makes more sense for me to live as a man, but the unexpected changes was um, I was scared. I guess I had this romanticized notion in my head that my life would continue being the way it was. I would just be all of a sudden happier, and life would be a box of chocolates, and everything would be fine. Um, it's so it's almost like a mirror. My life was a mirror image of what it used to be, and I know that sounds like cryptic, and I don't mean it to, but I guess to for me to really explain the unexpected changes, I'll have to sort of say how I used to live. And my life prior to coming out was all about social acceptability. 35 years of fitting in, 35 years of doing the right thing. Even while I was in active addiction, I still maintained that level of social acceptability. I was perceived as a white female. Um, I got married. My ex husband had two children, so I was a step parent. Um, we had two cars. I had a job. I was on disability for a while. I had a college degree. You know, on the outside, my life was fine. It was chaotic. I was always in and out of mental hospitals. I was constantly suicidal. I overdosed all the time. But removing all of that, I had, the nuclear family. So I was used to fitting in. I was used to talking to my mom almost every single day. Um, and when I came out, I was going through a divorce. Um, uh, I don't have contact with my stepchildren anymore. They're adults now, well into their 20s. Um, they have families of their own now, children, spouses. I don't have any contact with my ex. That was a very abusive situation. Um, I don't use drugs anymore. So those changes came, but when I came out about it, I had about a year clean, and I began social transition. Um, I was no longer socially acceptable just by existing. I don't know if that makes sense, but I felt pressured I think maybe the first time in my life to fit a different mold, and that was it was more acceptable for me to be seen as a lesbian than than a man. So that was I didn't understand what the big deal was. So I just decided, okay, I'll try to live as a lesbian, and that lasted about 3 months. I thought I can't do this. There's just something about my reaction that inside of me that it doesn't feel right to live as a woman. It just doesn't. Um, so I had to realize it wasn't my sexuality, it was my gender. So I had like a mixture of weird experiences of trying to figure out what it all meant. And I come from a conservative background, so I was very ingrained with the gender binary, very much so. I think that's why it took me so long to come out and admit that, I think I'm a man, you know. And then I know I'm a man, and then, oh my God, what do I do with this? How do I do this? I didn't know who to reach out to, who to talk to, or anything. So all my friends were mostly cisgender, heterosexual people, with the exception of a couple of cisgender gay and lesbian people who did their best to understand but didn't have a lot of understanding or insight either, and really didn't know who to refer me to. So I guess I felt like there'd be all these opportunities and all this information available, and people would just understand and know what was going on with me, and help me through it. And the unexpected change was that for the first time in my life, I felt like I had no one. I told my mom, and she was sort of like, okay, well, let's never talk about this again. And I just kept pushing forward. So I guess the unexpected change for me is I found an inner strength within myself that I didn't realize I hadn't tapped into. I already thought that I was a strong person, but I didn't realize that I was strong because I fit in. So it wasn't even, in my opinion, like a real strength at that point, because I was strong through the strength of others. And when I had to become honest and actually stand for something that I felt very strong about, um, I learned that not everybody sticks around when you take a stand on something. So I learned who my friends were, my real friends. That was very painful for me. And I wanted to chase down the ones that left and, say, I understand why you don't like me. What do I have to do to make you stay? It's taken me a few years of therapy to look at that and realize it's okay to let people go. They don't have to be in my life. So those were, I guess I would say, I've become healthier out of necessity because I had to learn to let people go that did not want to stay in my life based on who I am. And another change was learning to set boundaries. 35 years old, I had no idea how to set boundaries. I'm 41 now, and I'm still learning how to set boundaries and how to not compromise my identity to keep someone else happy and safe. I was talking to a friend of mine who's still in Virginia. She's a cisgender woman. She's a woman of color, and she's older. I think she's in her late 50s. And I was venting to her one day about all this, stuff that discrimination and feeling hurt and feeling overlooked and feeling silenced sometimes, but having this weird experience of now being perceived as a white male correctly, but having this influx of social power now that I sometimes don't know what to do with, but at the same time feeling invalidated and that I don't exist, and just sort of ranting and raving about it. And she was quiet, she listened politely, and she said, this is overwhelming to you because it's new to you, because you knew a different kind of life. And she said, understand, I've never known a life without that sort of behavior, without those reactions from others, without discrimination, without being judged on external appearances. So that, I guess, was something I'd never considered before. I had never considered that I could be happy and peaceful inside myself, feel comfortable and happy and peaceful inside myself through my choices, and that the source of that happy, peaceful feeling within myself, that rightness within myself, would be perceived as not socially acceptable. I guess I know that sounds strange for me to, I feel like that sounds clumsy for me to try and explain it, but it's such a new concept for me still, that was unexpected. I think I expected to just, come out and be welcomed with open arms, I guess. I don't know what I expected, really. But what happened was I had a choice to stand for what I believed in and who I believe that I am, and continue exploring who I am, and have to make sacrifices and let people go and let go of expectations and ideas that I have about the world and myself, or cave in and crumble and go down a very dark path for me anyway, which either would have meant that I stopped transitioning, or to maintain social acceptability, or in my opinion, worse, become the stereotypical misogynistic man that just to fit in, objectifies women and cracks ignorant jokes and at the expense of others. What's been very difficult for me was learning that uh, life is not made of black and white moments. It's a lot of gray. I'm still learning this, and learning that it's okay for me to be different. It doesn't mean that I'm good or bad. I'm just different. It doesn't mean that I'm right or wrong either. And that some people I have to love from afar, because I don't yet have the skills to handle their lack of willingness, or their anger, or in some cases, perceived violence. So, yeah, all of that. People that I thought were close friends ended up turning on me. I moved from Virginia because things got violent. I'm in New Mexico now. I'm happy. I'm working on my master's in social work. I found a church family that is accepting and welcoming. For me, that's very important. My spirituality, my faith is very important to me. It's given me a lot of strength, continues to, and I can serve and give back through that. So, all those things said, the unexpected changes was I felt like I was losing my life and wondering if transition was worth it because of the early struggles, and learning who my real friends were. And what's happened was I just plugged on through it, and held on to, for me, my faith and the few friends that I found that I did have. And now I've gained my life. That's how I feel. I feel that I now am finally having a life worth living. But it took some time of getting through those rocky patches and those really uncertain patches and those questioning moments of, oh my God, am I doing the right thing? Am I crazy? Is this wrong? Having a therapist helped tremendously, still does. Learning who my real friends are and valuing them, and letting go of the fair weather friends and the fake friends and the opportunistic friends. All those things are continuing to improve my life, but I didn't expect that to happen. So I hope that made sense. Super long video. God, I keep making these ridiculously long videos. Anyway, I'm going to stop talking now. If you have any questions or you want to know more, drop me an email, drop me a comment. Also, don't forget to subscribe to Paperboy. Hit the subscribe button below. And if you would like to be a Paperboy and do something like this, leave me a comment. I'll get you connected with Ty, and we'll get you the information to send in your audition video. Thanks, y'all. Have a happy Sunday. Bye.